Every team in the NHL has now hit over the 10-game mark. This gives us a pretty good sample as to who's been really good to start the season and who hasn't been. The entire premise of this video is to go over who is a fraud, who you should absolutely just not panic on and hold, and who you should absolutely be targeting in terms of trades. Guys, this is your buy, sell, hold video going into a week 5 of fantasy hockey. Let's get right into the video. And starting us off, one of my favorite buy low targets is Wyatt Johnson of the Dallas Stars, currently 89% owned at center right wing eligible. He's had a really slow start where he only has 1 goal on the year, including 5 points and only 1 point in his last 5 games. But there are a lot of positives here that I'm seeing out of Wyatt Johnson. He's still line 1 and power play 1, skating alongside Jason Robertson at both 5-on-5 and on the power play. He's had a big increase in his average time on ice compared to last year, where he was sitting around 17 minutes and now well over 19 minutes average time on ice. He's only shooting at 4% currently, where, you know, his career average is around 14, almost quadruple that. And even though his shot attempts per 60 and shots per 60 are lower than what we saw last season, it's not significant enough for me to panic, simply because it's just so early on for me. This very well could be the only opportunity that you're able to get a guy like Wyatt Johnson, somebody who we had as could be an elite breakout player for this year. We haven't quite seen that yet out of Wyatt, but we know how talented he is as a scorer. He showed it last year in playoffs as well as last season. And I get the fact that some people are looking at it, it's like, oh, there's so many weapons in Dallas that he's kind of getting lost in the weeds a little bit. Guys, I'm not worried about that at all. We know how good of a player this guy can be. He's getting a ton more ice time this year, so I'm anticipating all of the production is going to come sooner than later. This might be the only opportunity in the year that you will be able to buy low on this guy. And as you can see, he's had a similar start in last season compared to this year within his first 11 games played. Outside of the goal scoring, obviously, but very similar shot totals, very similar power play totals, even though he is getting a ton of power play one time. Dallas's power play has not been great. I'm expecting that to kind of change going forward. Heiskanen struggled out of the gate. You could even argue that J-Rob isn't really producing at his regular rate. But I'm not worried about Wyatt at all. He's one of my favorite buy low targets. I recommend that you go and grab this guy if you can. Another player I'm sending a ton of trade offers to is Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders. Super great buy low opportunity for you right here. He only has 1 point in his last 5 games, only 4 points on the year so far, all assists without a goal. He's pair 1 and power play 1, playing an insane amount of minutes, well over 24 minutes. He played 30 minutes last game in Long Island. It was unbelievable. I looked at the numbers, I couldn't believe it. He's had 10 or more goals in the past 3 seasons, and he's currently got 0, so you're going to expect his goal totals to come up. His shot attempts per 60 and shots per 60 have absolutely skyrocketed this year. He is shooting the puck at an unprecedented rate, like Yossi level shot volume sometimes. This, again, might be the only opportunity that you can buy low. Like a guy with 45 shots, like I want everything to do with this guy. I think the production is going to come around. The Islanders are terrible on the power play right now. Last season, they were hovering around 20%. It may stay a little bit stagnant on the power play with a guy like Matt Barzal being out of the lineup currently. And the Islanders, again, having some players that are struggling, guys like Bo Horvat. But I want everything to do with this defenseman. This is an elite defenseman. He's going to finish with around 60, 65 points. I'm confident he's going to get 10 plus goals against this year. And again, could be the only opportunity that you have to buy low on this player. Another buy low and a great target if you need a goaltender is Jeremy Swayman right now. You guys got to remember, he didn't have a camp. Like, he just didn't have the opportunity to train with the team prior to camp. He didn't have the opportunity to get any type of preseason reps, really. He just got flung right into the start of the season due to his contract negotiation. It's going to take him a little bit of time to warm up. The numbers are going to get better as they progress, regardless of how Boston does in front of him. It's early enough for them to turn it around as a team as a whole and start really racking up those wins. But regardless, even if they don't end up being the elite team that we've come to know over the past couple seasons, Swayman has finished with over a .913 save percentage in every single season that he's played. Every single one. That is 4 seasons of being over a .913 save percentage, some even well above that into the .920 save percentage. He is an elite goalie, point blank, period. That's it. You need to target this guy. The numbers are going to get better. He will continue to get a ton of volume going forward, especially as Boston tries to turn their season around. I get the wins aren't there right now, but I'm confident that they will figure it out. This are the Bruins. They have a ton of vets on that team, and it's a very seasoned veteran team. So I would be shocked if they just absolutely continue at the rate that they're going. Swayman is a great target right now if you need a goaltender. I'm starting to worry a little bit about Charlie McAvoy, but I have him currently as a hold. It's just too early in the season to really lay the cards on the table and be like, yeah, this guy just isn't having a great year. You can't really move him at his current value either. I'm assuming a lot of people are trying to buy low on him. I almost had him as a buy low, but there are some things and some issues that are starting to kind of come out of the weeds a little bit and worry me. I told you he's not great on the power play. Like his numbers historically are just like not good in terms of his power play point totals. And the Bruins are the 4th worst team in the National Hockey League right now at 13.3%. This should see a bump going forward. I can't imagine that they stay at below 20%. They have a ton of talent on there. They've just been struggling a little bit early on, like I alluded to when we were talking about Swayman. The peripherals will always be good for Charlie McAvoy. This is why you go out and target a guy like this, is that you can get a 55, potentially 60-point defenseman along with a ton of great peripherals, which gives him such a good floor. And honestly, like, is probably the reason why a lot of people aren't panicking too much on him just yet, given the fact that he gets you such a great floor with his shots, hits, and blocks totals. As you can see there in his last game, he had 7 shots with 3 blocks. Finally got on the board with an assist. But again, really, really slow start in terms of his production. If there's one caveat and one real positive that you're looking for in terms of McAvoy turning his season around, is the fact that he's had 47 to 56 points in 3 straight consecutive years. He's around that kind of area as a defenseman. He does miss a couple games here and there, usually finishes around the 70 game mark with around 50-ish points. So he could be a 60-point defenseman if he really played a full season and kind of stayed at that consistent rate. But we're not seeing that right now out of McAvoy. It's starting to worry me a little bit, just the amount of time in which he goes without recording a point. Like, I'm pretty sure he's had 90% of his points in the first 2 games of the season, and this is his first point in like 9 games or something crazy like that. So I'm getting a little bit worried with McAvoy, but for right now, you kind of just have to hold on him. I wouldn't really entertain any offers unless they're like crazy good, but I'm holding on Charlie McAvoy right now if you own him in pretty much any league. Very similar situation to Owen Tippett, somebody that's kind of had a slow start out of the gate, but I'm less worried about him, frankly, to be honest with you. He's still line 1 power play time. He's getting similar time on ice as to what we've seen in the past, around that 17.5-minute mark. He's 7th in the National Hockey League in shot attempts per 60. He's got a crazy good shot volume. This is what he's known for. This is why you draft this guy, is the shots, the hits, and the blocks. He has such an incredibly good floor, very similar to McAvoy in that sense. He's shooting currently at 5.7%, where his career average is slightly higher at around the 10 mark, and 9.6 to be exact. So I think the goals are going to come around, and we've already seen a huge improvement from the power play in Philly with guys like Morgan Frost and Matej Michkov just giving some actual skill and finesse to that top power play. So Tippett should start to become a beneficiary of that. They're at 20% already this year on the power play. I'm not worried about Tippett at all, just given the fact that he has such a good shot volume. The points will come. Just stay a little bit patient. I'm holding on him. I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't move him. Very similar situation with a guy like Evan Bouchard. I know typically this year, if you were in FPPL, he went super early in drafts, as a lot of defensemen did, but he's still pair 1 and power play 1, playing a ton of minutes, well over 24 minutes average time on ice. McDavid is back tonight. I'm recording this on November the 6th. So again, McDavid back tonight. Should start to see a bump in power play points. He is 26th amongst defensemen in blocks. He's tied with Mort Seider, which was a crazy stat that I read the other day. So he gives you a little bit of a decent floor alongside some shot volume. The point totals are going to come, guys. Like it's already starting in Edmonton. Zach Hyman, for example, Victor Arvidsson. It's going to start to come around. It's just going to take them a little bit of time to adjust to all these new personnel in their lineup. The Oilers also shockingly have the 6th worst power play, currently at 14.7%. Last year's power play was over 20% at 26.3%, and they were the 4th best power play in the league. I'm expecting that to turn around as well, especially with McDavid coming back. I would not be worried about Bouchard at all. The points are going to come around, and honestly, it's a positive seeing the increase in blocks that we have out of him, along with some shot volume going forward. On to our sell highs, Mark Stone. We've seen, you guys know how we feel about Mark Stone. Transparently, like, I love him as a player in real life. I think he's just so good defensively, and I'm so excited to see him play at Team Canada this year. Like, I would be shocked if he doesn't make the team, just given the start that he's had. But 20 points in 12 games. His value has never been higher as a player. He has yet to play over 56 games in the past 4 seasons. Just let that sink in for a little bit. He's just been that injury prone. He's also shooting at over 20% with his career average being around 15%. So obviously a slight kind of jump in that area as well. There is simply no way that he will continue to produce at the rate that he is currently from a long-term perspective. So go out and see what you can get for him given his current value. This is a guy that has a huge injury history and almost no floor when it comes to peripherals. His shot volume is not great. He doesn't hit, he doesn't block. The only value you are getting out of him right now is when he gets you points and when he gets you multi-point games, which is why his value is so insane right now. I would be trying to sell this guy at every avenue. Go get yourself like a really high-end player that's been struggling out of the gate. Just given the fact that he's had such a hot start, I'm looking to sell him. Even if he stays healthy this year and finishes with like a 70, 75 point season, I still there's just way too much risk involved for me with this player right now that I want to sell him at peak value. So I would recommend that you guys do the same. Similar situation with Nikolai Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets. 17 points in 13 games. Again, his value will never be higher than what it is right now. He's had a crazy start to the season. The average time on ice is just such an alarm bell for me. He's averaging under 16 minutes time on ice. I know he's on power play 1 right now. I know, he's seen a lot of success on that second line alongside Nemestikov and Perfetti. But again, he's shooting much higher than his career average, almost pretty much double what his career average is currently. And again, very similar to Mark Stone, he could have a 65, 70-point season, but I'm selling this guy now. I get he's got a good shot volume. I get he's finally producing at a rate in which people believed he could. He's finally on power play 1. You could say the same thing about Mark Scheifele. Very similar situation. I would be selling high on him as well. Just go get yourself an elite player, guys. Go get somebody that's a lot safer, somebody that is going to play line 1, power play 1 minutes the entire year. I'm just the average time on ice scares me so much. To produce at this rate while averaging under 16 minutes is just insane. I'm not expecting this to continue at all. Again, a lot of risk involved in that. So go trade this guy as you can and see what you're able to get in leagues. And then finally, finishing up our video, we have Lukas Dostal of the Anaheim Ducks. Transparently, I love this guy. I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to be Anaheim's goaltender for the future. But again, when it comes to fantasy hockey, we have to look at the alarm bells that are ringing when he had an unbelievable start to the year. He's recently come back down to earth, right? Past 2 games, 5 goals against, 4 goals against. He's starting to come back down to earth. Gibson's going to be coming back into the fold, so the volume isn't really going to continue. If it can even continue to begin with, hypothetically, even if they play him at the rate than what they're playing him right now, I don't know if the level of play is going to continue for that long. The Ducks pretty much look like the same team as last year. They're not by any means challenging for a wild card spot. So again, I think, you look at him, he's had a really hot start to the season. He's been great. He's been fantastic, getting a ton of volume. I don't see any of it continuing from a long-term perspective. Go see what you can get for this guy right now. I love him to death. I think he's going to be a great goalie in the league, but from a fantasy perspective, he is playing well over his rate in which he should be right now. So go see if you can sell high on a guy like Lukas Dostal. That is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of my buys, sells, and holds. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there anybody on this list that you would have included? I was looking at guys like Martin Nietzsche. I mentioned Mark Scheifele in the video as well. A ton of great sell high options right now. So excited to see what kind of trades you guys have cooked up. Let me know in the comments down below. But that will do it for me. Good luck in the rest of your week in fantasy hockey. I will see you in the next video.